Today we're going to talk about why I'm a better hiker at 33 than I was at 23. At the end of this, you're going to have 8 actionable steps or concepts to think about if you're in your 30s right now that's going to make you just way better than you were in the decade prior. Now, this is totally possible, and I'll actually go into why being in your 30s is even better than being a hiker in your 20s. There's some reasons around that. So let's jump into this. So if you're one of those persons that you just turned 30 or you're in your 30s and you're feeling hopeless, at the end of this episode, I think you are going to feel a lot better. And if you're in your 20s and you're listening to this, even better, because now you can get into your 30s way ahead of the game. And same with your 40s, all that type of stuff. One of the best things about being in your 30s or just being older in general is that you have started to increase the amount of total time doing low intensity cardio. I'm talking zone 1, zone 2 type stuff. I'm not talking about intervals and running things on the track. I'm talking about the time that you have spent in zone 1 and zone 2 doing all of the hikes in your past history and every summer or whatever it is that you're doing. I want you to think about that as it's always adding up. You're always adding more fuel to the fire with that. So in other words, because you have done so much of that, you are increasing that overall cardio engine. I've raced 100 miles before, and I will tell you this, I was getting absolutely rocked by folks that were in their 60s. And that's simply just because they have maintained this zone 1, zone 2 cardio over decades of their life. So if you think that you are in your 30s now and you think everything is downhill from there, this is one of the concepts that I want you to think about, and I want you to really, really hammer home when you are thinking about training, because it's not necessarily how fast you can go, especially when you are a hiker. It's about how long you can keep going, even with trail running and ultra running and even climbing and stuff like that. And so that's the way that I like to think about it. I like to think that every single hike that I go on, every adventure that I go on, I am just creating a larger and larger engine for myself, because that's just really how your body will respond to that type of training. You get more and more slow twitch muscles. You get more and more mitochondria in those muscles. And I'm not a PT or anything. I kind of nerd out on this. So maybe some of this stuff is a little bit wrong, but for the most part, you're recruiting more and more helpers in your muscles to make you go longer. And that's why in the next concept here, I guess I'm kind of skipping around from what my script or my notes are saying, but that's why I'm able to hang and beat 20-somethings. I've realized this in my life right now. I'm 33. A lot of the people that I hang out with are in their 20s. And I'll tell you this right now, who starts out the fastest all the time? It's not me. It's always them, and they'll be ahead of me, and I'm fine with that. That's totally cool with me. And the reason is because I know that I can go longer than them. And I'm always the last one standing at the end of that particular hike or climb or mountaineering objective. It never fails. So in this aspect, age is not declining. It actually gives you leverage if you're able to play it right, which we're going to be talking about further in this episode. But one of the things, the way to play it right is you have to, again, accrue that time on your feet, accrue that slow heart rate, and accrue those type 2 slow twitch muscles by just doing and being consistent. Being consistent is the biggest thing that I've talked to with older folks. I would always make it a point, and still do, either if I'm in an ultra or if I see a really fit older person in the gym, I ask, what is the secret? And 2 out of 3 times that I asked, every single one of them says just being consistent. And that's how you will build that aerobic engine. So that's one of the best things about being in your 30s as compared to your 20s. The next thing, though, that you must do in congruence with that cardio is you have to be in the gym as a mountain athlete. I know there's people that say the outdoors is my gym, and that's fine. That's great, because that really does build that aerobic endurance. But we want to be bulletproof. We want to be injury proof. I herniated a disc, and it was the worst thing ever. I thought my entire career was done. I couldn't 2 hours in the morning. If somebody tried to break into our house, I couldn't do anything. I would just lay there. I was in so much pain. And the reason was because my lower back was so weak, and I wasn't flexible either. My hips were tight, my flexors sitting all the time. And so you have to, when you're in your 30s, you can probably get away with it in your 20s. And I talk to a lot of people that it seems to be this thing where people that like to be outdoors don't really like to be in the gym. I'm actually the opposite. I actually grew up being a gym rat and didn't really get into the outdoors until later. So for me, it's really, really simple. But you have to think of it as you are making yourself injury proof for the mountains. Hopefully that can create the switch in your head, because if you are not hitting the gym, I know, again, it happened to me. I was even lifting, but I neglected doing my lower back. And now my lower back is 100%, 110%. It's way better than it was before I herniated the disc. And that translates to other aspects into my mountain performance. So stop thinking of the gym, for the love of God, as a bodybuilding type thing. That is a benefit of the gym. I mean, there's so many benefits of the gym. Aesthetically, you're going to look better. Mentally, you're going to feel sharper. Glucose is, I think, sucked up a lot better by your muscles when you're doing this type of stuff. But now that you're in your 30s, it is a non-negotiable for mountain performance. And if you can start this in your 20s, even freaking better. I was just talking about flexibility in my hip flexors and things like that. But these are two aspects that people just not optimizing for whatever reason it is, but just knowing that this is going to be, we're going for longevity. And the way that you reach longevity in anything is being healthy. And as we age, sarcopenia can take over. We're losing muscle at a faster rate. So if you can keep that muscle on you, you're going to be set up way better in your 40s, way better in your 50s. And in fact, everything you do in your 30s is going to set you up for your 40s, and your 40s into your 50s. And if you guys are playing it right, like I said, I'm 33 and I'm hanging out with 20-year-olds. You can actually be a decade. If you're taking care of yourself, you can be a decade younger than what your chronological and your biological age is. So that's just one way to do it. Going off of that point, being able to hang out with 20-year-olds and basically bury them the longer it goes, I want you to think about and compare yourself to the people your age that are not active or that are not taking care of themselves. When I go home to Wisconsin, it is a totally different culture. It's not outdoor centric. It is very much based on watching other people play sports. It's not my culture. If it's your culture, that's cool. It's just not. I had to get away from it. When I go home, I look at people I went to high school with that are my same age, and they look like they're in their 40s. And to me, that just proves the fact that what I'm doing is the right thing. When we'll talk about some other things to do here to take care of yourself, but you can look and you can feel 10 years younger than your peers. I always say that if you're taking care of yourself, 30s are the new 20. And I truly do believe that. There's a lot actually more benefits that being in your 30s comes with than just athletic performance comparable to your 20s. Yeah, so make sure you guys are taking care of yourself there. Now, when I say that, yes, it's great, you can still be as physically fit as people in your 20s or as you were in your 20s or even better. The best thing about being in your 30s is that you are going to be sharper, you're more intentional, you're going to be less ego-driven because you've experienced failures before. And you've learned from that decade of experience in your 20s that you can do a lot of things, but there is some things that you should be cognizant about or that there might be a better solution for. So you learn how to suffer better, essentially. You have past experiences to compare your current reality or your current experience to. If I bring somebody out that maybe isn't experienced in the mountains and we're going through maybe a sort of a difficult time, they fold a lot faster than I would, just simply because they don't have the experience to draw on, to where I'm sitting here thinking, well, this couldn't be worse as X, Y, and Z experience. They have no experience to draw on for that. As you get older, you obtain more experiences to compare that to. And in my mind, you just start to suffer a lot better. Some actionable things that I want to talk about here are what you could bring into your life and what you can take out of your life in order to make you feel a lot better in your 30s. Some of the things that I want to talk about would be supplements to take. Here's my stack. Every morning I eat the same. This kind of ties in with diet too. So every morning I eat the same thing. I have an egg, avocado, sauerkraut, and some greens, and then I do oatmeal, and I have a bunch of stuff in the oatmeal, like protein, chia seeds, all this type of stuff. But every single morning is the same. After that, I'll take my supplements, which is just a multivitamin, glucosamine, creatine I put into the oatmeal. I put collagen into the oatmeal. And I will say this, collagen I think is really, really good for skin. I look at folks that are my age and they look I rarely put on lotion. And I'm always in the sun, but I think there's something to taking that dose of creatine or collagen that really helps. Creatine also really helps too, not only just for muscles, but and the ability to go longer, but also your brain, they're finding out. So I'll take that. I'll take vitamin B. I'll take fish oil, and then obviously protein in the oatmeal. And that's kind of my day stack. Now, at nighttime, I take a zinc and magnesium supplement along with an ashwagandha supplement. And I have got to tell you, so the one thing that I've been screwing up with my supplements, and the reason you need to have these nighttime supplements is because this is the optimal time that you're going to be increasing your hormones, you're recovering. Sleep is so huge. I'm actually really against the folks that talk about getting rid of sleep in order to do XYZ goal. Now, that being said, I am going to be waking up and starting a hike at 1 a.m. on Saturday in order to summit and get down before the snow melts, but these are few and far between. I really do not screw with my sleep because it's so dang important for recovery and setting you up for the next day. Now, what I've been screwing up with is I have been taking a zinc mag supplement, but I wasn't taking magnesium glycinate, which apparently is better than the other ones that I was taking. And then also I just added the ashwagandha supplement after seeing it just like positive reviews. And I will say the first time that I took it, my HRV, which is my heart rate variability, was 10 points higher than it was the night before I took it. And if you know anything about HRV, it's a lot better to have a higher HRV than a lower. So that's a big deal, especially when I was coming in at like 40s and stuff like that. I mean, that was about a 25% increase. So really good stuff there. I highly recommend taking supplements. And then the other thing is, this is going to be a really controversial one, but I think you need to cut out alcohol. And the reason is because for me, I don't want to put anything into my body that isn't, I'm very serious. And so some people aren't like this, but I'm very serious. And I think of my body obviously as a car, and I don't want to put anything into that car that just that makes it run suboptimally. And alcohol was something that did that. Now I've been 5 years alcohol free and it's been fantastic for me. I do think that that's one of the reasons why some of the people that I used to grow up with are looking a lot older than they do. I think the alcohol and the way that it affects your sleep, it's just all around, it's just not a good thing. So removing alcohol made me better in every single way that I can think of. If you talk to anybody that's given up alcohol and say, do you regret giving up alcohol? I don't know if anybody would say yes. So the only thing is that it does make it a lot harder to meet women. If you're not going out to the bar and drinking, I mean, you can still do it. It's great, but a lot of times you don't have as much fun. So that would be the drawback. But besides that, taking away alcohol and taking away all the processed food and replacing that with whole food is going to make a huge difference for you. And it's just kind of crazy. You know, I used to be in a really dark place in my life before I cut out alcohol, fixed my diet, fixed my gut, was getting regular sunlight. All this stuff that seems so simple is actually what is going to take you to that next level. Simple equals effective. And that's how I like to live my life, is just simple concepts and simple ways of doing things. I hope this helped you, and I hope this provided a little more inspiration for folks that are in their 30s that feel like, you know, your life was done. And that's kind of how I felt when I hit the big 3-0, but I realized that, hey, this could be one of the best decades of my life. If you guys like this episode, leave a 5-star rating on Spotify. That would do a ton for me. And then leave a like on YouTube and give a subscribe. We'll see you for the next episode.